Good evening, I'm Don Alhart. Now, we heard the news over the weekend, the governor lifting the masking mandate for schools as of this Wednesday. It is not automatic, though. And as we hear from Dalton Williams tonight, it's now up to each county and each school district to decide.
That's right, Don. As we learned today, area counties such as Monroe and Ontario say they will follow the state's lead, but not implementing a countywide mask requirement. But Monroe County leaders caution that this might not be the same for all schools. Governor Kathy Hochul's decision to lift the state's masking requirements for schools came as no surprise to Monroe County leaders as COVID cases continue to fall in the area.
You know, we've been tracking the numbers every day during break week that are reported from the at-home testing kits, and then also obviously the lab confirmed cases, and we have not seen any spikes so far.
The mask mandate has been a controversial and hotly debated issue in communities across the country.
For weeks on end, we've been hearing, and when I say we, myself and the Board of Education predominantly have been hearing from community members and staff on both sides of it.
In Ontario County, the mandate will also be lifted on Wednesday, despite being considered a high transmission area.
While we're still in a red zone, which we are in Ontario County, which means a risk of high transmission, that we strongly encourage people to wear masks in school, but they're not required.
Canandaigua City School Superintendent Jamie Farr says his district will share its next steps with the community on Tuesday.
I think it's important for all of us to kind of recognize the milestone we're at. When we look back at our communication, the very first communication the Canandaigua City School District shared with our staff and our community was on March 1st of 2020, 2 years ago.
Safety of students and teachers is still the number one priority. Local health commissioners are working closely with their school districts to determine a plan for dealing with COVID cases in the classroom.
If there is a concern in a school, we'll take it on a case-by-case basis, but we're not going to be doing any automatic classroom closures based on this or that.
Vaccination is still the number one tool in the toolbox here to keep the community healthy at large. Also, if you're not feeling well, we're still asking people, please stay home.
Monroe County leaders say as far as masking on buses, whatever the school district's policy is, the same will apply to transportation. They're urging parents with questions or concerns to reach out to their district directly.
Could be the last day children will have to mask up in the classroom. Governor Hochul announced the end of the mandate this weekend, citing the decline in COVID cases.
As 13 Lamb's Carla Rogner reports, the decision is now left up to counties and school districts, but ultimately moms and dads. Carla?
Yeah, that's right. We've heard from Monroe, Ontario, and Livingston County leaders, all saying they will not impose their own mask mandates on schools. So going forward, it will be up to teachers and students and their parents to make the call. On Wednesday morning, first grader Pedro Quinones will still be wearing a mask.
Per usual, at least for right now, just to maintain the health and safety of everybody else at home.
Pedro's mom, Ashley, says he doesn't mind.
He actually agreed and said that he would be still willing to wear his mask at school. He understands that, COVID is still a risk and people get sick.
And he's even picked out a favorite mask.
My rainbow one.
But other kids are ready to ditch their mask.
We vaccinated our daughter, and, we've done everything we can to protect them.
That includes Rachel Cormier's daughter, Mackenzie.
We 100% left it on her. We said it's up to you whether or not you want to wear it, and she's ready to let it go.
It's now up to school districts to decide whether to continue requiring masks in the classroom, where kids have been masking up for the better part of 2 years. Health leaders are regrouping when it comes to handling cases in schools.
Omicron, which we still believe is the dominant variant here in the community, is much milder. That does not mean it's not concerning to some, particularly those who are medically vulnerable, but we're going to treat each case on a case-by-case basis. And if we need to make recommendations for the school to close a classroom, I think that would be a conversation that we have with the school.
Still, some don't want to get rid of that extra layer of safety just yet.
We still want to make sure that he's safe in school as long as he can be.
We haven't heard from any area districts that are requiring masks past Tuesday. Tomorrow, we are expecting to hear about this transition from the head of the Monroe County Council of School Superintendents.
A painful chapter in Rochester's recent past is closing. The city settling a lawsuit filed by former Police Chief LaRon Singletary.
For me, it was about basically getting something back that was wrongfully taken from me.
Singletary sued for wrongful termination after being fired by former Mayor Lovely Warren in 2020. Good afternoon. I'm Doug Embledge.
And I'm Jenny Ryan. Singletary's settlement with the city of Rochester will give him $75,000 and health care coverage in exchange for his dropping his lawsuit. It ends the legal action and closes the door on a contentious, ugly time for Rochester.
Ultimately, LaRon Singletary was fired as Rochester Police Chief by former Mayor Lovely Warren. But a week before he was fired, Singletary resigned, a move that preserved his health care benefits. But when he was fired, those benefits ended. His settlement with the city restores those benefits. He says that's worth $600,000.
For me, it was the healthcare. It was the healthcare. It was never about the money. It was about, more importantly, my values, my principles, and my morals, and standing up for what was right.
Singletary's removal came amid rising tension between him and Lovely Warren. Each accused the other of lying following the death of Daniel Prude. An independent investigation by City Council found fault in how each of them handled Prude's death.
As a person who was the chief of police and someone who understands the fiscal situation that a city may be in, I didn't want taxpayers to shell out a dime for any of this that LaRon Singletary did not cause. But unfortunately, this was the arena that we were in. And I had to make some decisions that were best for me.
Singletary said he felt the settlement was a way for Rochester to move on. But it's also a way for him to move on as well. In November, he announced he was switching parties and running for Congress as a Republican.
For me, again, it was more so about the people, moving this city forward.
The Singletary settlement was reached after Lovely Warren stepped down as part of her plea deal and before Malik Evans was sworn in as mayor. It was during a month in which Deputy Mayor James Smith filled the role as Rochester mayor.